All right. Awesome. Here we go. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to Cozett Contemplates. I am so beyond excited about my guest today. My guest today is Ronisha LaShae. And let me tell you, this girl is on fire. She is absolutely epic. She and I connected a few years ago at a local creatives event. And I knew from the moment, Ronisha, that we connected, I could just tell that not only did I find a kindred spirit in you, but I could tell that you were a thoughtful leader. I think so often the examples that we have, the leadership that we have is real heavy on charisma, but they lack the thoughtfulness, the pure intentions, you know what I mean? That golden heart. And I so felt that with you, and you were just a breath of fresh air for me.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that
Definitely.
you're here.
I'm so excited to be here. I definitely felt the same because it was just like we clicked. And
Yes.
it's been amazing from there. Like your spirit, just the energy that you brought in that space. I was like, there's something special about that lady.
Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. This I think this episode has been in the works for a while,
Hmm.
and I'm just grateful. I think that you and I both kind of like after we connected and we met, I think it was probably right after that we both started undergoing some pretty profound
Yes.
transformations in our personal lives. And lots and lots of changes has happened between like the first time that we met to this
Tonight.
episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So before we get into it, I really want to just kind of promote you and what you're doing, what your life is about, what your heart, your creative passions are about. So, when I see you on Instagram, I see you walking the runways and just this amazing model, just full of power, confidence, and light. So, tell me more. Tell the viewers more about you. Where are you at right now? What are you doing? What do you want people to know about you?
Well, I am just really diving in and just finding like my sweet spot in all the things I've been doing. My passion is communication, my passion is administration, and my passion is all things fashion. And so like Cosette said, I'm really immersed in the fashion world. It's something that I've been loving since I was a little girl. I was 2 years old, and my parents can tell stories. They remember me just playing in my closet and picking out clothes. And you know how little girls love to play dress up, but this was on a whole nother level. And it's just been going on since then. So I am considered a plus or curvy model. So I do modeling, all things fashion, in front of the camera, behind. I have my hand in a little acting, coordinating fashion shows, and I also have a business side. I am a remote secretary. So I have like private clients that I do admin work for, and currently for a tech company that's really cool. Anything tech we do, but those are just my things where I have my hands in. But one thing with my modeling, I really, want to show people is that you can come in your natural body, and you can come as you are, and you can be beautiful, and you can be celebrated. I am 5 feet tall, and I am not thin, and I don't fit the ideal industry standard. But here I stand, and I'm actually about to be blessed to walk in LA Fashion Week. So I just want people to know, I'm a little small town church girl from Chattanooga, Tennessee. But if you just keep investing in your passions, they will take you somewhere.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that. I love how dynamic you are. I love that you have that practical side where you're doing the admin stuff, the tech stuff, but then you're also, you're going to be in LA Fashion Week, just the creative balance with the
The balance.
practicality and all that.
Yeah,
That's
I've been
that,
working on balance for sure. So
yeah. It's hard to find a balance. I think, the world demands a great deal of practicality out of us, and sometimes that takes the place of our creative pursuits. But it's in our creative pursuits sometimes that we find the fullest expression of who we are.
right.
Yeah.
I can use an example. Football players who say that they've taken dance classes or ballet. Some of them take ballet classes and it improves their game. A very cut and dry, practical game, but so it's just good to have that balance. It brings fullness to all the areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So before we get into some of the questions that I have for you, I want to start with a quote. And for my viewers, if you want to check out some of my quotes, you can find me on Instagram at Cozett Dunn, COZETTDUNN. I have a book in the works. I will be releasing my first book no later than the end of January 2023. So on that note, I want to share a quote, and then I feel like this will be a really good springboard to get into talking about what you shared with me as your passion. And so my quote is this: we must fully diverge if we are to fully emerge. Life is one grand shedding. Your body replaces 330 billion cells every single day. But when it comes to the mind, our beliefs, philosophy about the world around us, rarely, if ever, will some allow the health of change and upgrade to occur. This leads to us being out of alignment with the fullest, most authentic expression of who we are. If you're feeling stifled, resentful, fearful of repercussion for fully being yourself, then this is your permission to diverge. I am calling you to emerge. Yeah. So when I reached out to you about doing this episode and asked what was on your heart, you mentioned that you felt most passionate about encouraging people to connect with their true self, pursue their individual life path, and not what others expect them to do and be. So, why is this your passion right now?
This is my passion right now because I have been in a transformative and like transitory state for quite some time. Just a place of finding myself, and I think that COVID was definitely a catalyst for that, and a catalyst for a lot of people. And I'm coming out on the other side of it, so I'm so passionate about it because I know that me getting on my life path has saved my life. I was in such a dark place before this. I felt like I was up against a wall. I felt stuck. I felt trapped. I felt like I didn't have anywhere to go. I felt like I was suffocating.
Mm.
And I didn't know how. I didn't know how I was going to stop that feeling, but I knew that I had to do something or else I didn't want to be here. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Because I was just so unfulfilled, and like everything within me was screaming, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point?
Yeah.
And so I was like, we're either gonna find what the point is or there's no point. And I have a little girl, so I was like, we gotta find what the point is.
Yes.
We got to. And so that just embarked me on the journey, and the journey was not easy, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I really want other people to tap into it and do the hard work, because it makes everyone around us better, not just our own lives.
So true. Yeah, so true. And that inner work, it is the hard work. that inner work of kind of searching your soul and presenting demands on your own psyche to get at the core of, who am I? Why am I here? What is the point? Like you're saying. And I feel like a person's life path is so integral to even optimal health, mental health, physical health. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. When thinking about taking and finding out your own life path and exploring that, in what arenas and areas of your life has forging that path been the most challenging?
Oh my gosh. It's been challenging in every aspect. And it really does. It will challenge the core of who you are. I could say specifically in my career, in my work, in my finances, in my personal life and relationships, and in motherhood, my relationship with my daughter, those 4 big areas. Those have been a challenge because it caused me to dig really deep in those areas. And when I was beginning my transition and really changing my life, my parents were getting a divorce, and that triggered a lot of inner child healing. I came from a 2-parent home as an African American woman. Coming from a 2-parent home, my parents were married for 34 years. That is amazing. Something I'll never take for granted. But they were big members in the community, and especially in our community, it meant so much. So to see the breakdown of that, even though I'm an adult, it was a lot. But sometimes we need those things, and it helped me really dig into me and why I do the things I do and the decisions I make, and that just overflowed into all the other areas of my life.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Just kind of like thinking about how the different arenas of our lives are so impacted by whether or not we're true to ourselves. Like personally speaking, I've found that my my longest running career as a real estate agent, it has been very difficult for me to show up as who I really am, because so much of my livelihood has depended on people pleasing, making people happy, not necessarily telling people what they want to hear, nothing like that, but as far as my personality. And that's been, I can relate on that arena, I guess you could say, the career arena. So we know that the inner work is hard and the transformation is not easy, but have you found like any pleasant surprises along your path of transformation? Has there been people that you thought would be like more of a challenge than they were? Any kind of good pleasant surprises, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's been cool along the way. I've tapped into gifts and abilities that I didn't know I had, that are really making a difference in my life. Um, I'm gonna be vulnerable and put it on out there. But I discovered that I have a gift and ability to channel messages, from spirit or whatever you believe, through tarot. And I know that's taboo, especially in the South.
Yes.
But I realized that I have those gifts for a reason. And it's really blessed my life. Those things, coming in contact with different types of people who I never thought would have been in my corner, reconnecting with people that I've had past relationships with, but really reconnecting and clicking in. That's been wonderful. People who I didn't think would support me, Me and my mom, we have a, a different relationship, close but not close, strained. And so I didn't always feel the support from her, but she has really rallied behind me in a way that I never thought we would, in a
Oh,
place we would get to. And that has been so beautiful and so healing. And then just, I have lived in the same place for 7 years. And I'm finally getting to know my neighbors. And now I have this community of people surrounding me and my child. So just different things, tapping into new skills I didn't know I had. So it's
yeah,
been cool, a cool journey of discovery.
that's amazing. Just to kind of speak to the work that you're doing with like the tarot and channeling messages, getting the downloads from God, from the divine. Um, I think that, that is a very esoteric practice that has been unnecessarily demonized. And like you're saying, here in the Bible Belt, it's very, very difficult. But just so I can kind of, anybody who watches this, if I can kind of do one thing in that arena to disarm the demonization of that, is just to speak to, there's actually a Jungian concept when it comes to something known as archetypes. And there is this concept of primordial imagery. And so the basis of that is that before there was language, there was symbols. And so we had to look to symbols symbols to find meaning. And the concept of primordial imagery, it reminds me so much of the tarot, because it's this long running history that somehow we think gets stored like in the backs of our brains, and those things find their expression, you know, from the dawn of humanity until right now, me and you discussing it. So I definitely encourage you to keep pursuing that, because there is a lot of good that can come from that.
And I can say this, for me, I grew up in church and things like that. So I've been on the other side of it. But what I can say as far as spirituality and just an understanding the way life in the world works, we all have different learning styles, and there's all different learning styles. There's a visual learning, auditory, and tactile. Well, for me, the tactile part was missing.
Mm.
And so when I incorporated that into my life and my practice, it really just brought everything, together. So if you think about it that way, it kind of helps ground everything.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I can definitely see that. Let me see. So many questions I had to pick your brain. So, okay, we're talking about how, you know, we have this esoteric practice, right? Tarot, where we've broke out of the mold of what is expected of us in the Bible Belt. I have got a quote that I want to read, and I want you to tell me your thoughts on it and if and how it resonates with you. So I have this quote that says, "It's okay to break your mold without giving notice to others." What are your thoughts on that? And is that something that you can relate to?
Yeah, that quote was the catalyst that started everything. What was it? It's okay to break your mold without
Without
giving
giving notice to others.
notice to others. Okay. In relation to tarot, I had got, before I was working at a private school. I was a secretary at a private school. And on the outside looking in, it would look like an amazing opportunity. And it was. I enjoyed it. But things were not what they seemed. And I felt a push that it was time to go. So I received my very first tarot reading. And a card, it said, basically, you're gonna leave disruptively, or you're gonna have to make a disruptive exit, or someone else's from your life. I didn't really understand it. Well, when I was working, things were not right in that environment. I was really stressed out. I was really struggling. I was having to take personal days just to get myself together. And I got to work one day and my spirit was already disturbed. And so I got there, and something happened that was not okay. And I felt everything within my body screaming, you cannot stay here another moment. You have to go. And I'm like, wait, but I'm at the school, and it's the high school, and the kids are about to, like, what? Everything in my spirit said, you've got to go now. On the outside looking in, that doesn't look right, but I had to hear that voice. And I got up and I left, and I did not look back.
Wow.
And I did not inform anybody. I had to go. I had to go. And I know that seems wild, but it was what was needed. It was what was needed for myself. It was what was needed for them to get an awakening. But yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to break that mode without informing anybody. You gotta listen to that voice inside that says, no more. It's time to go. It's time to change. It's time for action. And sometimes you get pushed so far out where you get pushed out the nest, and you gotta go. So
yes,
that for sure.
that is an amazing story. You know, I think when it comes to like mold breaking, sometimes like we don't even have notice that we're about to break out of a mold, because like you're saying, if sometimes you have to be pushed, and that push can come if you have overstayed where you're supposed to be, and that can be super uncomfortable. I've had some experiences like that myself, but that's just like your passion, you know, and encouraging people, be true to yourself no matter what it looks like, because at the end of the day, you are all you have. You know what I mean? You are your greatest resource. And you know that energy of transition was there, you know what I mean? And your spirit was able to pick up on that, and thankfully you went for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are definitely catalyst moments, definitely. So beyond that, what else has mold breaking looked like for you?
Really, I'm really the first person in my family that has really stepped out into a creative field to make a life for it. So that's just breaking the mold for my family for generations. I think I've had some family members, well, and I have some other family members who have too, now I think about it. But so that's mold breaking, and just embarking on that path has been interesting and tough, you know, because the people around you that love you, you know, sometimes you feel that resistant because they don't understand. And you don't always have that support or that understanding because they've never seen this before. We've never been in this place before. And it's like walking in the dark. You know, it can be lonely and scary. But it's worth it. So breaking the mold sometimes within your own family, or feeling like that black sheep of the family, you know, it can be hard, but that's what that's for. You know, is to forge a different path. So
Yeah. And I think too, just like as technology advances, you know, like before our generation, things had to be super practical because, you know, of survival essentially. But I feel like with the advent and the advance of technology, it is creating a more conducive environment for us to lean into our creative sides more than humanity maybe ever has. I listen to several different YouTubers, and one comment that always resonates with me is he says, see, how does he say it? Attention is the new economy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think that is especially true for creatives.
It is.
Yeah. So I don't know. Food for thought.
Food for thought. I see there's pros and cons to that. It gets my mind turning on both sides.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I just think that sometimes too much attention is not good. What are we paying attention to? That's the things. I think sometimes we bring attention to issues that don't need much attention, and then we don't pay enough attention. I think some unfortunately with technology and with social media, people base their worth and their value off of attention. But I think on the other side of it, when we do bring attention and awareness to certain issues or highlight certain creativity, it just is a wellspring, and a springboard for other people to want to tap into that. So I just think if we shifted our attention, we could use that as a beautiful tool to change the world, really.
Yes.
So we have an opportunity at our fingertips.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, just kind of like what you're saying, intention is as important as attention, because we understand that, like you're saying, too much attention, especially like for our young people and social media, there is a crisis in mental health, especially for young girls and people who are non-conforming. It is an arena, it is an absolute, when I say arena, I have this, this visual of like the old Colosseums, when people would step in to basically be shred apart by lions or what have you. And it doesn't have the same barbaric trappings, but it definitely has the same effect on the mental health.
Definitely does.
Yeah. Let's see what. So in thinking about the transformations that you've undergone, and in thinking about forging your own path and encourage people to be their true selves, what do you most want people to know about you, the core of who you are? And I ask that because sometimes when we are in transformation and we are undergoing these powerful metamorphoses, the people in our lives kind of start to feel estranged. They don't understand, okay, who are you anymore? And while we don't want it to necessarily create discomfort, it does. And sometimes that can be indicative that person is not going to be going into the next season with us. But I think sometimes, like personally speaking, I still feel this obligation and this sense of wanting to say, I know you don't know who I am anymore, but here's who I want you to know that I am. Have you experienced anything like that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I have, and this as I've been changing and growing, I've had shared relationships. It felt like I had a lot of betrayals and a lot of misunderstandings, and I appreciate the opportunity to say this because I think because of those things and because people didn't understand, they kind of made me out to be something that I wasn't, and I didn't really get a chance to advocate for myself. I know me personally, a lot of times I just let whatever narrative go. I don't really try to fight it or try to explain who I am. I don't really get an opportunity to. Sometimes I just feel like it's better if I don't. Um, Unfortunately, but what I would want people to know about the core of who I am is I try to do everything from the moment I open my eyes to the moment I go to sleep with integrity. Integrity. Um, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But I try to do everything with integrity, no sneak with pureness of heart.
Yeah.
Um, and it may make other people uncomfortable, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's what people know about me. I'm gonna do what's right. And if something happened, I'm gonna make it right. But if anything happened or if there's any miscommunication, it wasn't done out of spite. It wasn't done. I don't do things out of spite. I try to be objective in the decisions that I make. But yes, I am a person of integrity. People may speak against me or speak against things I do, but no one will ever be able to say that
Yeah.
I was sneaky or underhanded, did something shady.
Yeah.
That's just who I am at the core, a person of integrity. I am a person of love. I try to operate out of love. When I look at people, I honestly look for the beauty in a person first. I don't look for what they got going on first. I see. I look for what's special um first. So I just, like I said, just I'm an integral person,
Yeah.
for sure. And love. And when I say a person of love, even if it's tough love, even if I have to tell you about yourself, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I'm gonna do it in love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a lost art these days. I think people feel like being plain spoken and, delivering hard truths necessarily means you've got to come at it with a kind of a nasty energy. And we don't have enough people who know how to deliver the tough love in that way.
Yeah, I feel the spirit of my ancestors and my grandma. When your grandma used to get you together and get all the kids in the neighborhood, and she was tough, and but she kept everybody in line. Everybody in the community knew that that they were loved and that they were cared for. We need some of that richness, back in our lives, in our community.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Um, I think there is a great appeal for people when you have someone who is plain spoken. But it makes me think about, I think this is in Proverbs, it talks about having the law of kindness on your tongue. And I think that that's kind of what we lost. Like, it's great to be, plain spoken and tough, but to be able to deliver that with compassion and integrity of character, of your own character, it's tough.
And tact. I think we've lost tactfulness.
Yes.
I mean, yes, be who you are and say what you want to say, but there's still tact.
Yeah.
You still have to be aware and be sensitive. Know what to say and what not to say, and when to say it and when not to say it. It's still very important. The art of communication.
Yeah. Absolutely. There is definitely an art to it, definitely. Um, so in thinking about the art of communication and the art of being able to deliver the hard truths, I'm 43. I'm going to be 44 next year. All my life, I have been just this obligate people pleaser. And that has been one of the hardest things for me to deal with in my life. It's honestly created a lot of destruction in my life. And so I wish that earlier on I had been inspired or had an example to lean into, that being able to, like you're saying, just, I'm going to tell you about yourself if I need to, you know,
Mhm.
I wish that I could have done that many, many years before now. Um, so I guess I would ask, it seems like that's just naturally how you are, but has people pleasing ever played a part or been a challenge for you?
Yeah, it has plagued me. People pleasing has definitely plagued me a lot in my life. I'm just the type of person that everybody comes to, to seek advice or guidance or comfort. And because I'm just a community person, I just try to bring everybody in the fold and make them feel comfortable. And just because I can handle things a lot at once as well, but sometimes it just pulls so much on my energy. I've been guilty of spreading myself too thin, even recently, and just being a little bit too trusting without, really, taking stock of a person's character. That's gotten me in places and spaces that I didn't need to be in.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to express that love, but I didn't create the proper boundaries
Yeah.
um for it. So that's gotten me taken advantage of. That's gotten me abused, even physically. Um, yeah. Just kind of stagnated things in my life where I could have made progress. Um, so yeah, when you honor yourself, it aligns you with the right people. That'll help you be able to push forward. And when you don't do that, it can keep you stuck.
Yeah. So true. I love how you said that. When you honor yourself, it aligns you with the right people.
Mhm.
That is profound. And that is definitely a recently discovered truth for me. And, I guess I can say better late than never for me. So I'm grateful to have discovered that. Um, and thinking about that and setting that kind of example, you mentioned you have a beautiful daughter. What do you want? What legacy, what part or parts of your personal power and your personal truths that you have discovered along your journey thus far, what do you hope to pass on to her?
Well, my daughter's name is Phoenix. And so it's like the mythical bird, just rising from the ashes, being able to rise out of any situation. And that's what I want her to know. No matter what difficulties, if your back's against the wall, you can rise out of that. And that's what I try to instill in her. I teach her about boundaries. A lot of times we don't. So there's times where she's burnt out and she doesn't want to play with her friends. And I'm like, you don't take your time to yourself. Tell your friends, even at 7, you'll see them later. Um, Instilling self-care in her. Because a lot of times as people and especially as women, as girls, we are trained from the start that our lives revolve around constantly serving others. And if we aren't doing that, then we are less valuable.
Yes.
And I want her to understand that when she takes care of herself, who she is, it puts her in a space where she can, be that for other people. So I just kind of instill that in her because it wasn't instilled in me at a young age, and I want her to be solid in herself.
Yeah, that is powerful. When I hear you say that, I almost feel this sort of a mentoring spirit from you. And it makes my heart just yearn. I pray that there are so many parents who will see this episode and grab a hold of exactly what you just said, because especially as we are in those early years of formation, if we can go ahead and begin to grasp that it's okay to have autonomy, it's okay to have personal power. It's okay to say, I'm not in servant mode, and that's okay. I'm still lovable. I'm still, valuable, even if I'm not serving you. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. That just, I just feel that resonating so strong in my heart.
Yeah, that was just that was a big deal for me. I just grew up in because I was so loving and such a sweet child. She's me all over again. And I try to think of the things, well, what did I need when I was a little girl
Yeah.
that I didn't get? And so I just wanted to love everybody. And because of that, I got taken advantage of. And she's growing up in a different time, in a
Yeah.
different space, a more confusing time trying to navigate everything. So uh, now more than ever, children need and people need to have a sense of identity, who they are, because it's muddled. It's muddled right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just being able to have that identity serves as an anchor in the midst of the chaos, because if you know who you truly are, then you can tap in to who you truly are.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that these kinds of things are coming to the forefront, because, I think historically it hasn't been like that. There's been so much suppression of um, autonomy, natural desires, and it's just, I think, humanity as a collective, that we're growing past that. And it's going to take people like you instilling into others and encouraging and equipping others with that message for us to forge the paths for ourselves. Um, so kind of going off script a little bit, I've got a couple more things. I've got my little surprise question for you at the end. But before we get there, is there anything like on your heart that we've not talked about? Anything eager that you would just love to get out into the world right now?
I know. Okay, well, let me just speak freely. I know we've talked about like getting on your life path and but I know that sometimes that's easier said than done. Like, what does that mean, and what does that entail? And it just means letting go. Sometimes that's what people need to understand. It means putting your hands up and being like, I don't know what the crap I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do today. I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. I don't know if I'm going to eat tomorrow. I don't know. It's literally just throwing your hands up into God or in the universe, whoever you believe in, be like, show me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And being okay with not knowing.
Yes.
Like, if it all burns down, I'm gonna just watch it all burn down. I don't know. And that's the first step. And it's not easy and it's scary. I want people to know that when you go on a journey of self-discovery, it's not gonna be rainbows and unicorns and kumbaya and good vibes all the time. No, there will be bad vibes.
Oh.
There will be bad vibes. There will be tears cried. There will be ugly cries. There will be days where your hair is sitting on top of your head and you're looking crazy. Okay. And I want people to know that healing is not this beautiful kumbaya journey. No, it can be ugly. You will look toe up and you will feel
Yes.
toe up. I don't want to glamorize it. But
Yes.
it is worth it when you come to the end of it. When you pass by a building or something and you see a new construction and they're tearing it all down and it looks a hot mess, but you're excited because that when they get done building whatever they're building, it's going to be great. And you have to think about that yourself. Sometimes the breakdown causes the breakthrough.
Oh,
Sometimes you got to tear stuff down and rip it up and have a renovation, but you're going to know it's going to come out better than before. And that's what I want people to understand. It's hard, it's tough. That's why people don't do it. But if you hang in there, it's worth it. Sometimes
yes.
sometimes it's just cracking your eyes open. If that's all you can do, you did great.
Yes.
Keep cracking your eyes open. As long as you do that, things will change. They will not stay the same.
Mm.
Just gotta, sometimes it's just the spirit of keep going. This is, your mama died. Keep going. I don't have the money for the bills today. Keep going. I don't, or today's a great day. Keep going. Keep going. Keep waking up. And
Yes.
eventually it'll come together.
I love that. That's so, so powerful. I love how you said that. The breakdown leads to the breakthrough, and healing is not pretty. I often think about like the imagery of like wounds as they heal. They're not exactly emanating light. They can be festering, they can be swollen, they can be tender to the touch. And I think that's definitely how the healing process is. It's not all high vibe, love, and light. It can be buckling under what feels like a destructive force where you're never going to rise again. And then you become the phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And then you become the phoenix.
Amazing.
Just a little backstory about that too. I am a single mom. And so unfortunately my daughter's father is not in her life. And so I'm just here and I'm pregnant, first child. And I'm not here in Tennessee. I'm all the way in Texas, not really any family. And so I'm just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I was freaked out. But the day that I found that I was pregnant, I knew that that's what I was going to name my child. Because I knew that she was going to be the reason why I was going to rise. Well, I didn't know she, but my child.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I think everybody can have a phoenix story or a phoenix moment in their life, and she was just mine. But
yeah, absolutely. I remember us talking about that. I love that story, and she is the epitome of hope. Yeah, she is the epitome of hope. All right, so we're fixing to, I guess, be at our 1 hour mark. So here's my surprise question for you. Let me turn over to it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a sentence, and I want you to finish it. This is as though you are speaking, okay? If you were to sit down and at the end of your life, you are writing out your life story in a journal entry, and your first words are, I am so happy and grateful. My life has been an outstanding success because. How would you finish that?
because I died empty.
Whew.
Yeah.
That brought tears.
That is my life mission. I want to do everything that God has for me to do, and I want to be able to lay my life down and say, I have done everything. Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm crying too.
I've done everything under the sun. I'm all emptied out now.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too for that.
Oh, your heart, your soul. Oh, all right. So obviously, if you were watching this episode of Cozett Contemplates, you can feel the energy from this amazing woman, this woman of power, this column of light. So, Ronisha, if people want to connect with you and see what you're doing, what your creative pursuits are, how can they do that?
Well, they can find me on Facebook, Ronisha LaShae, RONISHALASHAE. Same on Instagram. I'm on TikTok too, but not too much right now. I'm a millennial, so I'm trying. But yeah, Facebook and Instagram are the main things. But I want to say, Cozett, I wouldn't be where I am without you, my lady. You have helped me get through some dark places. And And, I've called on you in times where I didn't think that I was going to make it. So
Yes.
you are a part of who I am now. And I just want to tell you thank you. And I'm honored to be here doing this with you today.
That means the world to me. And it is an honor that you share that with me, that you have shared those tough times. I am equally as grateful for you, because there have been times when I felt no one else could hear me but you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thankful for your voice and thankful for your spirit. All right. Well, I will go ahead and wrap this up. I am so grateful to everyone who is viewing this. I hope that you will subscribe to Cozett Contemplates, like this video, share it far and wide. There is nothing but power-packed encouragement here. All right. Ronisha, thank you. I hope you'll come back again.
Please, anytime. I would love to.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you. And I will talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.